Hey, what's going on, guys? George here at APG. And we decided to show you guys our bolt-on front long travel for the 2021 Plus Ford Bronco. It's also got our weld-on rear long travel suspension system, all utilizing factory axles. Let's jump into the build. This Bronco was previously outfitted with our mid-travel suspension system, as well as some other carbon fiber goodies. It had our upper hood trim, it had our carbon fiber fender flares, and just a mid-travel suspension system. He ran out of travel. You know, he wanted to go faster, wanted to go harder, and most guys who go mid-travel eventually want to go long travel. So that's exactly what we did here. Our front bolt-on long travel consists of the upper control arm, the lower control arm, the heavy-duty tie rods, paired with our four-wheel drive axles, substantially increasing that usable front wheel travel. You'll notice, if you take a look at the front of the car, where a 35 on a zero offset wheel is kind of flush with the side of the Sasquatch width fender flares. You know, now he's sticking out at 12 o'clock position about 3.5 inches. And that is due to the fact that the whole suspension system pushed that tire out further. So maybe a wide body is in store for this build, but for right now, it works fantastic. All right, so why do you want to go long travel? What is it? There's a reason that the race car drivers and off-road enthusiasts around the world have been doing this, and that's because there are a lot of benefits. Wheel travel, that's the name of the game in the off-road environment. Wheel travel absorbs those elements. You're driving faster, you hit bumps and rocks, you're running through the desert or the mountain or the washout roads. That increased wheel travel is going to absorb the elements and not pass it into the cabin, which passes on to you. Increased track width improves on your stability. It also improves on the handling on road. It also looks awesome. All right, taking a look inside this wheel well envelope right now. Similar componentry on Pro Runner, all billet construction upper control arm with dual misalignment heim joints. It's got a huge 1.5 inch uniball, stout, and it's beautiful. It's got a box construction lower control arm, but it's tabulated for an OEM replacement performance coilover. Now that lower control arm still features all of the advanced structural integrity that you see in Pro Runner, just the mount positions are different. Looking up front, you're also going to see our optional 2.0 compact bump stop kit. This bump stop kit is highly adjustable based on your selected ride height and your tire size, which you need to restrict that up travel for. Now guys, this is a 2.5 replacement coilover. This is the same diameter, shock throw, the mount specifications found on any performance Bronco shock system. So if you've got an Icon or a Fox or one of the other guys out there, you know, Radflow, there's just tons of great shock companies out there. If you already have a performance shock system, it's fully transferable. Let's just get those spring rates and those shock compression settings and rebound settings dialed in for the increased leverage of this long arm suspension. So axles, four-wheel drive, this vehicle is equipped with an M210 front drive unit, and that is retained because of the tire size and the selection of the build. It's a builder's kit axle, so we give you a 4340 heat-treated extended axle shaft for your CVs. We give you some new OEM replacement clamps. You reuse your factory boots, and you simply rebuild the CVs to add that extended length on there. Now, given the selected ride height on this suspension system, take a look how flat those tie rods and CVs are. This is an advantage of properly building your long travel and not just adding a lift to your car, and that's essential. Take a look at the tie rods. We've got two tie rod options. Full heim steering, it's got a clevis on the inner, it's got a heim joint on the outer with a big chunk of aluminum that's threaded left and right so you can align the vehicle at any alignment shop. But for this particular application, we're sourcing Raptor inner tie rods and boots. And then we've got our Heim outer steering with our own proprietary tie rod sleeves. Now we paired and machined all these together because we know this is strong. The inner diameter of the inner tie rod is 18 millimeters. It's strong, it's robust. The weak point on tie rods is typically your threaded body on the inner. But we've got that sleeved and protected. And we've got the added length needed by going to the billet outer section. So you can run either option. We love an OEM tie rod because no bump steer, very serviceable, easier to align, no boot issues. Our full heim steering is fantastic, but if you just don't have the experience in your alignment shop, doesn't have the experience of working with heim joints and working with clevis style steering, you may find that the OEM inner option is right for you. And on a 37-inch tall tire, which is exactly how the Bronco Raptor comes, you know you've got that reliability. All right, guys, taking a look from the rear side of this rear envelope, I want to talk about the sway bar options. This vehicle was equipped with the electronic disconnect from Ford. It's fully functional. You will notice our lower control arms come with multiple tab options. This tab option is for retaining the original arm that's attached to that sway bar torsion arm. If a customer wanted to run a secondary shock, which we are able to do so, you can see the pre-tabs on the lower control arm, the bypass would go right in the way of that rocker arm. So we have a new machined arm, so you would press off the factory arm and press our arm back on there. That changes the routing of that link position. You install the bypass, and then that link that attaches to the lower control arm will move rearward and slide right behind the bypass. So full OEM functionality with primary, secondary, bumps, sway bar, everything. No loss of any OEM control. All right, guys, now onto the rear of the car. We grabbed the forklift just to kind of flex it out to give you an idea. Plus, we were trying to shoot some of the rear suspension components, and what better way to get a good angle from the camera than to droop out the suspension. And we're not even all the way drooped out right now, just enough for you guys to show. Now, I'm 6'4". I'm a tall guy. This it's flexed out right now. That rear tire is about 3.5 feet off the ground with full contact on the other 3 tires, and there's still a couple inches to go. You know, why have a long travel in the front and not have it in the rear? The idea is to be balanced front and rear, and that's exactly what we've delivered. We're getting up to 17 inches of rear wheel travel on this setup, of course, with our provided shock systems. This is a 37-inch tall tire. The tire is beneath the body. There's so much articulation set up, and that is possible because of our long arm, our geometry, our shock throw, and all of the bracketry that allows it all to work together. This is the highest performing rear suspension system available to market. All right, now take a look at the back. Now guys, it's worth mentioning that this rear suspension system does require some fabrication. That's nothing to worry about. Our specialists can handle it. So, jumping into the componentry. Long upper and lower control arms. Johnny joints, all new axle bracketry and bracketry to the frame. Now, that massive 14-inch 2.5 coilover has been moved outboard to the frame and raised up over 1/2 foot. We've got 3 tubes reinforcing that outboard position. And take a look at that rear upper track bar bracket. That track bar bracket has got a drop feature in there, so that track bar is nice and flat. So you're just tracking and you're handling the energy of the rear suspension. The motion is just exactly what you want out of a solid rear axle. We've also moved the axle back a little bit to increase the wheelbase, and that's helping tire cycling path inside this 4-door wheel envelope. So on Pro Runner, you guys have seen that the rear axle is completely replaced, and that is what gives you the 7-inch wider platform. Now we know we need the tires pushed wider for several reasons. Reason number 1 is we want to match the front track width. Reason number 2 is we need to clear the shock body when articulated the other direction. And we've accomplished that for $300 with a set of hub-centric 6061 aluminum, grade 8 studs, high quality wheel spacers. Now, I'm not a fan of wheel spacers in the front. I'll never put them and I'll never use them. But on a solid rear axle, if manufactured correctly, installed correctly with quality material, you're not going to have a problem for moderate off-road use. All of the bracketry and the componentry is the same. If you ever happen to have a rear axle issue, our ultra-wide heavy-duty Dana 60 rear axle assembly bolts right up. No fabrication or modification required. It's an unbolt and a rebolt. But with our rear axle brace, with our corrected geometry and installed correctly, on a 37-inch tall tire, moderate to heavy off-road use, you're going to get 100,000 miles of fun. You'll also see the 2.0 compact adjustable bump stop kit in the rear, also found in Pro Runner. This can be added at time of install or later on down the line. It's just an amazing bottom mount feature, so when you do take those heavy jumps or hits, you're not slamming hard material down. It's a soft end exit approach. You know, taking a look at the shock systems, any of our Performance King coilover sets are highly adjustable. It's not just an off-the-shelf component. Selectable spring rates, secondary and primary, compression, rebound settings, adjustment on the fly compression settings. It's highly tunable to your application, whether you're carrying heavy loads, driving lean or camping, or just going out to the desert, sending it, or just driving around town. You know, contact us for your user selectable shock settings. And just like all of our suspension systems, highly customizable with secondary shock systems. You'll notice the lower control arm bracketry and the upper control arm shock mount are pre-tabbed for your secondary 3-tube bypass. Bolts right up, no modification, fabrication required. Just pick up a set of bypass shocks and you're ready. All right guys, now take a look at the rear axle here. This is a factory original Bronco axle, just upgraded and modified by APG. It's a Dana 40 axle. It's got our rear axle spin prevention brackets. Those weld onto the tube, get some clamps around the pumpkin, and that's solving some of the spinning issues that we've seen on a lot of these Broncos with increased travel and or increased tire size. Now, because it's a Dana 40 rear axle, guys, don't go tossing 40s on this thing. It's not a good idea. You're gonna break. Staying relative to tire size is where this axle is gonna be just fine. So, like I said, it's tabbed and bracketed for our long arm suspension, and it's got the reinforcement kit. We haven't really spoke about this before, but any low-hanging brackets on our suspension design will always come with pre-installed UMHW skid plates, and that's the same for the front and here for the rear. All right, guys, taking a look at the wheel and tire pack outfitted. This is a 37-inch Mickey Thompson Baja Boss AT. It's a fantastic tire for a whole range of off-roading. This customer spends a lot of time in the snow, so having a snow-rated tire was important to him. This is a 17-inch KMC Grenade true beadlock off-road wheel. It's outfitted with a primary Schrader as well as the Apex rapid deflation valve. You see this across the majority of our builds. You know, we just love running beadlocks because beadlocks have come a long way. The tech is there, the consistency in the manufacturing. And once we get them mounted and balanced correctly for our customer, they can air it down to 2, 3, 4, 5 PSI, not need to worry about popping a bead. And that's important in a lot of situations. Also, the look and aesthetics. This allows us to paint match the beauty ring to complement the body color, the hood trim, and a lot of other accents. So super pleased with this configuration. All right, guys, now let's say you've got a mid-travel suspension setup, whether it's a mid-runner or you've got a Fox Performance Series or another shock company, this is the next level. If you said, hey, you know, I can notice an improvement, but I want more. I want more articulation. I want more wheel travel. I want to go faster, but I'm not quite at Pro Runner. This is it for you. This suspension system performs on and off-road fantastically. No reduced OEM performance, nothing but fun and gains out on the trail. So anyhow, this concludes the series for today. I appreciate you guys tuning in. A lot more videos coming up. If you enjoyed what you've seen here today, hit that subscribe button and we'll see you on the next one.